a lot of evidence to turn up that in fact never has turned up. The hypothesis that Santa exists generates a whole lot of reasonable expectations, all of which are unfulfilled. If Santa existed, it would be reasonable to expect, for instance, that he'd leave sooty footprints as he made his way from the chimney to your bedside. It would be reasonable to expect that somebody would actually have seen him careering across the sky behind his reindeer, fast enough to visit and spend a little time with every child in the world in the space of a single evening. You'd expect somebody to be able to give you a plausible account of how he could break the laws of physics in this way. These kinds of evidential considerations, I want to insist, are much more powerful than anything to do with simple lack of evidence. The existence of Santa is implausible, improbable even, insofar as there are cumulative rational expectations about his existence, none of which is fulfilled. I've coined a name for this sort of implausibility argument. I've christened it the argument from cumulative, unfulfilled, rational expectations, or CURE, CURE for short. In what follows, I'll sometimes appeal to the power of cure arguments as a cure for those who, in my view, suffer from the implausible belief in the existence of God. Delusions, as Richard Dawkins calls them. Taken together with natural explanations of the causes of such beliefs and the track record of similar beliefs, cure arguments provide about as strong a case as can possibly be made for atheistic non-belief in any God whose concept is self-consistent and consistent with indubitable facts. So you may expect me, in what follows, to press the parallels between belief in Santa and belief in God. Parallels, too, between Santa and many of the principal personages that feature in the Bible, Moses and Jesus in particular. The third terms requiring some comment are naturalism and supernaturalism. Naturalism is a metaphysical view whose ontology comprises all and only the set of natural, sometimes called physical or material objects, together with their simple and emergent properties and relations. Naturalism has no room, therefore, for the idea that our minds could survive the death of our physical bodies. To suppose the contrary, in my view, would be to commit what I call the Cheshire Cat fallacy, as illustrated by Lewis Carroll's charming story of the cat that faded away until only its grin remained. As if a grin could have substantial existence independent of the physical face of which it was the property. Naturalism stands in opposition to supernaturalism. Supernaturalism, you see, has a dualistic ontology. It recognizes the existence of the natural world and is likely to recognize the authority of the natural sciences when it comes to describing it. But it insists that there's more to reality than is conceived of in the naturalist's philosophy, and more than is accessible to scientific investigation. In addition to the natural world, there's a supernatural one, a world inhabited by beings such as disembodied souls, God and his angels, or Satan and his hordes. Some people say metaphysical theories like naturalism and supernaturalism can't in principle be empirically falsified. But this is another shibboleth, a product of shallow thinking. It's true that supernaturalism can't be empirically falsified, There's no way, for example, of falsifying the claim that the natural causes of a phenomena are the means by which God brings about the fulfillment of his plan. But by way of contrast, it's easy to conceive of a possible situation in which naturalism would be shown false and theism true. Just imagine the apocalyptic vision of evangelical Christians coming to pass in a way that defeated every attempt at a natural explanation, an explanation in terms of mass deception, for example. Imagine it in concrete detail. Everyone in the world, skeptics as well as believers, hears the deafening sound of trumpets. Everyone sees Jesus descend from the heavens in a cloud of glory. And in the great rapture, of whose imminence true believers still have no doubt, the faithful around the whole globe are visibly swept up to join Jesus in the sky, leaving cars driverless, husbands without wives, parents without children, and the earth's population permanently depleted. If this confirmation of the second coming were to occur, I myself would be gobsmacked, even godsmacked, you might say, and might hastily mend my atheistic ways. I might even think it prudent to pray that there'd be a third coming for belated believers like me. The problem for supernaturalism is that nothing remotely like this has ever occurred. Its track record is so abysmal that on a frequency interpretation of probability theory, you'd want to assign it a probability approaching zero. Think of the situation like this. Of the trillions of events, large and small, that are going on around us every second of every day, how many do you think still demand a supernaturalistic explanation? When some new event comes up for examination, the occurrence of a new phenomenon in the cosmos perhaps, or the sudden appearance of a new virus, where would you put your money? Which would you think more probable, that a natural explanation can in principle be given, or that some supernatural agent caused it? What would you think of someone who reasoned abstractly that for any given event there were just two possible kinds of explanation, a natural one and a supernatural one, and so concluded that there's a 50-50 chance of supernaturalism being true? Or that it's a 50-50 toss-up as to whether God exists? Yet some do so reason. Supernaturalists frequently object to the fact that science restricts itself to the search for natural causes only. Why, they ask, do scientists close their minds to the possibility of supernatural causes? Well, scientists have the capacity to learn from experience, you know. And in light of the abysmal track record of supernaturalism, they find it best to begin with the presumption that some sort of natural explanation will win again. In any case, there are just too many